For this week's Touch Basin's Hole, we're joined by the first African-American woman and the first Asian American to serve on the Nevada Supreme Court. Born in South Korea but raised mainly in the US, our guest joins us now to tell us more about how she overcame difficulties during her childhood to eventually build a successful law career and now end up on the Supreme Court in Nevada. Justice Patricia Lee joins us now via video call. Hello, and thank you for being on the show today.
Thank you so much for having me. It's an honor.
Yes, it's an honor to have you on, Justice E. We have to start with the fact that on the 21st of November, it was announced that you were appointed to serve on the Nevada Supreme Court. How did it feel when you heard the news? It must have been very exciting.
Oh, absolutely. It was exhilarating, overwhelming, and the part that I'm most grateful for is that my daughter was in the car with me. I was picking her up from wrestling practice because she decided to do wrestling. And she was in the car with me when Governor Sisolak called me and told me that I got the appointment. So she got to hear in real time my 14-year-old daughter. And she's a teenager, so of course she's texting everybody. She texted my husband, she texted my son, she texted our neighbor. She was texting everybody. So by the time I got off of the call, several people knew that I had gotten the appointment. So it was really just a surreal moment, and I won't that moment. It was very.
We'll come back to that amazing achievement and more about what it means to you a bit later. But first, I did want to talk about your personal story first, because it is quite remarkable what you've achieved despite a very difficult upbringing. You were born in Jeonju, North Jeolla Province in Korea before moving to the United States with your family at the age of 4. Do you have much memory of your time in Korea when you grew up back then?
Not really. I have a lot of photographs, and my mom told me a bunch of stories, but I don't have a very vivid memory of those times in Korea. So I've had to recreate kind of those memories through photographs, through historical recounts of our time there. My regret is that I didn't, I wasn't able to be there more. I would have loved to have known my harmony more. I would have loved to have spent a lot more time there, but that the circumstances weren't such that happened. But so unfortunately, no, I don't have a vivid memory of that, but I have a lot of stories and photos.
Sure. Okay. So it sounds like you still had connections to your roots, even though you grew up in the US. So you had a black US military father and a Korean mother. And in your application for the Supreme Court justice, you talked about how your father developed an alcohol dependence issue and he left the family. Your mother and you, along with your 2 brothers, were also homeless for a time after that as well. And then you also left home in your teens because of abuse from your mother's then partner. You do say that the struggles you had to go through made you stronger in the end, but it must have been just incredibly difficult to grow up in that environment.
Yeah, it was. And, my story is not unique. There's hundreds of thousands of youth that are going through exactly what I went through. And I think you can probably take 2 different roads when you are subjected to that type of abuse and those type of struggles. You either become fortified and become stronger because of it, or you succumb to it. And because of the incredible support that I've had from many people in life who helped me along the way, stay on the right path, I chose the path of fortification. And so when you are the victim of abuse, you can consciously make the decision that you're not going to allow your abuser to continue to abuse you for the rest of your life. You're not going to be a victim to that person, and you will rise above it. You will become stronger despite it wasn't easy. It wasn't a piece of cake, but it was something that, with the help of many people, I was able to overcome kind of those adversities and succeed despite my background. And I think a lot of the things that I went through actually made me stronger and made me more resilient. And so, my message to anybody who's ever had to suffer at the hands of another person is that take that and don't let that person control the rest of your life. Don't give them that power. Succeed, do it. You can do it, and take that pain and that fear and turn it into something positive.
I'm curious, who are some of those people who did help you along the way that you mentioned?
Oh gosh, there's so many. This program is not long enough for me to mention everyone, but
Sure.
I was part of a program, a social program here in the United States. It was called the Upward Bound program. They still have it, and it was a program designed for underprivileged children who had never, whose parents had never been to college. And you had to meet some economic threshold. You had to pretty much be below the poverty level. And they would go into this program. And every summer we would go to UC Barbara. It's a college here in California. And we would stay on campus for the summer. A sorority would donate their sorority house. And we would take the classes that we were going to take the next year during the summer. So they were setting you up for success. You had primer courses. Your first period in school was all tutoring. If you were struggling in math and English or any other subjects, they had tutors on hand every single day. They took us on college tours. We got to go up and down the California, coast and beyond to visit different colleges. They paid for your college application fee, which 100 years ago when I went to college, it was $65 per application, which seemed insurmountable, an incredible amount of money. And they would give you those fee waivers so that you could apply to college. They would
Right.
help you with your college essays. And they really just changed your mindset in terms of going from, well, I'm not sure I could ever go to college. That's really just for rich kids or for people who don't look like me. To, of course, you're going to go to college. Your only decision is which college are you going to go to. And so the two directors that were in charge of that program, there was Burkett and another Tony Burnett, and they were just instrumental in me changing my mindset to that I was going to college. And then in college, I had several mentors. Dr. Porter was one of them. She was the head of the cultural union there. When I got to law school, there was Professor Susan Johnson,
Right.
Professor Maggs, and then beyond in my law firm, I have several mentors and my partners who brought me along after they hired me. They brought me along and taught me how to be a really good lawyer with integrity, to advocate zealously, to stand up
Sure.
for what's right. So I've just been really blessed. And by the way, how I first decided to go to college, to law school, I took a gap year between undergrad and law school, and I was working at a place called the California Science Center, and it was right across the street from USC, which is where I went to undergrad. And I was working there all through college, and they hired me to work full time. And one of my main projects was to establish the Rosa Parks Computer Learning Center. So again, this was 100 years ago, 1997, and computers weren't readily available to everyone, particularly students in the inner cities.
Sure.
And so this was really trying to bridge that digital divide, right? Trying to get them access to this technology. And I met Rosa Parks and I worked with Rosa Parks.
Wow.
And one day she looked at me and she said, "So this is what you're going to do for the rest of your life? You're just going to work at this museum? This is it for you?" I said, "Well, I was thinking about going to law school." And she said, "Well, baby, if you want to go to law school, you go to law school." And so when Rosa Parks tells you to go to law school, you go to law school. So I applied for the LSAT and, and I ended up in law school. So I've had just so many incredibly positive leaders and influencers in my life who really got me to the point where I am today.
Indeed, it sounds like you had some amazing support. I mean, Rosa Parks, that's quite something. Just to
Right?
list some of your achievements as well. Despite everything you went through, you achieved top grades in high school, received scholarships, you were school president, captain of the cheerleading team. This was all when you left home as well, and you were living at your friend's place, I understand. You went to the University of Southern California and then attended the George Washington University Law School. You ended up building a successful law career, making partner in a prominent Nevada law firm. You received numerous awards as well for your pro bono work. And then in November, you were appointed to sit on the Nevada Supreme Court. What does that final achievement mean for you now, that being on the Nevada Supreme Court now, especially as we mentioned as the first African-American woman, the first Asian-American justice?
Well, it is, gosh, it's overwhelming and humbling. I know that this accomplishment or this achievement is bigger than myself. I am very happy, exhilarated, nervous, excited about this role, but I know that it means more than just my appointment. Means a lot to other people who are looking at maybe potentially one day also being a Nevada Supreme Court justice, but have not seen people who look like them on the bench. And so I think representation really matters. And I'm so very humbled and proud to be the first, to kind of set that tone, to open that door. Justice Michael Douglas was the first African American male who was on the Supreme Court, and he held the door open for me. And I walked through that door, and I'm hoping that I can also hold that door open for the next generation of justices to come through, to serve in this position. It's the, I hold this court in the highest esteem, highest court in our state, and it's important to have a bench that reflects the population that we serve. So it's a tremendous honor, and I hope to uphold the position and do everybody proud, and hopefully inspire some people along the way that I was inspired by those who came before me.
Sure. Well, your story is truly inspirational, achieving so much, starting with so many difficulties. Finally, then, you've talked about how, you want to tell people that they can do it. But what lessons do you think you can share with our listeners that you've learned along the way? What final advice would you give to any listeners who are struggling to overcome difficulties that they are facing?
I would say that it's not how you start the race, right? So it's not how you start the race, it's how you finish the race. And you have full, total control of your destiny. And you are entitled to your emotions and your feelings, but don't let them encumber you to the point where it cripples you. Use it as inspiration, as empowerment to do better. And always, always, always go back and help those who are coming along behind you. Because it's so important to lift as we climb, right? As we climb, we're going back and we're lifting people behind us. Be very, very protective of your reputation. It takes a lifetime to build a reputation and only a few moments to destroy it. So make good decisions and try to live your life in a way that is full of integrity, and try to be a moral person. And other than that, just work hard. Hard work is just, you can't replace it with anything. And so if you work hard and you're passionate about what you do and you're a good person and you treat other people the way that you want to be treated, it's a formula for success.
With those words, I think we can end it there. Thank you for sharing your story with us today. We've been speaking to Justice Patricia Lee on the Nevada Supreme Court. It was an honor to have you on the show today.
Oh, kamsamida. It was my honor, very much so. Thank you so much.